Hello, I'm Bailey Leisure, and today on my channel I'm going to be recapping the divisional round matchups in the 2019-20 NFL playoff. So the divisional round started off with the one-seeded San Francisco 49ers hosting the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings coming off a big upset victory over the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans, so the Vikings had some momentum coming into this game. Honestly, this game was kind of a dud. Not a lot happened in this game because the 49ers pretty much dominated this game and didn't even have to put up very impressive numbers, especially from their quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo and their big tight end Greg Kittle. So this game started off with the 49ers got a touchdown early in the first quarter on their first possession. Good drive by Jimmy Garoppolo. The Vikings were able to respond thanks to a big touchdown by Stephon Diggs. That was pretty much the biggest play that the Vikings had the whole game. The 49ers were able to get another touchdown eventually. The Vikings kicked a field goal after they were able to get a bit turnover off Jimmy Garoppolo, but they were only able to turn it into 3 points. So this game went into halftime 14-10. With the Vikings trailing at 4 points. You'd think, the Vikings are in this game. That's probably where they want to be. The Vikings did not, after halftime, the Vikings did not get a ball or get a first down until like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. In fact, they only had 7 first downs in this whole game. The 49ers had 21 first downs. They were outgained in time of possession by almost 17 minutes, with the 49ers having 38 minutes and 27 seconds of time of possession, and the Vikings having only 21 minutes and 33 seconds. So almost a quarter and a half, the 49ers had the ball more than the Minnesota Vikings. They put the pressure against Kirk Cousins, that great defensive line from the 49ers. That was a big story in this game. Nick Bosa having a big game. A big addition getting Daquan Alexander back for them. And that defensive line just, put up big numbers against them. And just, the Vikings Kirk Cousins couldn't do anything. He was sacked six times in this game. Dalvin Cook only ran for 18 yards on 9 attempts. They just couldn't do anything, running the ball. A big element in one of the big reasons they beat the Saints, but they couldn't do that against the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers, despite, a couple, big name players such as Bosa and Jimmy Garoppolo and Greg Kittle not really having that playoff experience, but it didn't matter as the San Francisco 49ers didn't really have to put up big numbers against the Minnesota Vikings, and they were able to win this game thanks to a dominant defense and a good running game, 27-10. So the other matchup that happened Saturday was in the AFC between the 6-seeded Tennessee Titans against the 1-seeded Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens were 14-2 and had the best record in all the AFC and even in the NFL, led by the probable MVP in Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson did not go off. Well, he had a lot of yards, combined yards he had. If you would have told me this guy put up over 550 all total yards if you include passing and running, I would have said the Ravens probably ran away with this football game. But that wasn't exactly the case. The Tennessee Titans, just the game plan they had in this game just shocked me. This game, they went up to a 14-0 lead thanks to a couple decent great passes by Ryan Tannehill, who only threw the ball 14 times. In 2 playoff games in this postseason run, he's thrown for 150 total yards combined. That's just mind-blowing. But he did, despite only throwing for 7 of 14 in completion rating, he threw 2 touchdowns. And those were big touchdowns. The big story, I said in my preview of this divisional round that if Derrick Henry went off again, this was going to cause the Baltimore Ravens a lot of problems, and he was the big story. He ran for almost 200 yards, 195 yards total. He didn't run for any touchdowns. However, there was a trick play where he scored a touchdown. And Mike Vrabel, once again, running the ball and controlling this game, was the key. Running the ball was going to be the reason they were going to win this game, and that they did. A dominant defense that, had, if you include the turnovers on downs, I think the Baltimore Ravens had 5 turnovers in this game. They went for it twice on 4th and 1. Once, I think in the first quarter when they were on their own 40, which did not make any sense. I kind of get the play calling because, the Ravens were perfect on 4th and 1 conversions during the regular season, but that was not the case today or during this game. They just, Lamar Jackson just couldn't get in the end zone. And that was the big key in this game, as the Tennessee Titans not only beat the Ravens, but they dominated. They definitely dominated this game, winning 28-12 and pulling off the big upset. Then we move on to the Sunday matchups, the other AFC matchup between the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. And this game started off, I was thinking this is exactly what happened in the Titans-Ravens game, the previous night, as the Houston Texans were shocking one of the top teams in the AFC. They were up 21. They got off to a 21-0 start thanks to a couple miscues on defense, a blocked punt, and then a fumble by Tyreek Hill returning the punt. And the Texans, it looked like they were going to just run away with this game, and it was going to be Texans-Titans in the AFC Championship game. But then a moment happened in the second quarter, which would backfire later in the game. So the Houston Texans, who were rolling, had 4th and 1. They were I think they were inside Kansas City's red zone, I think near the 10-yard line. They decided to kick a field goal when it was a 4th down and 1. They just, and go up 24-0. I really don't think it was a good call because, I feel like if you go up 28-0, the momentum's riding all around, despite Patrick Mahomes, who can put up touchdowns like that. But, I think the reward was better than the risk, in my opinion. It was kind of high risk, but I think the rewards justified the risk. But they went up 24-0. The Kansas City Chiefs were able to get a touchdown thanks to a great special teams return by Kansas City. And then the Texans had the ball. It was 4th down, and they were inside their own. I think they were at the 35-yard line of their own. They decided to fake punt, and they did not get it. The Chiefs were able to turn that into a touchdown, and they just were rolling after that. And that's why not going for it on 4th and 1 when you're up 21-0 near Kansas City's near inside their own 10-yard line, Kansas City's 10-yard line, that's where that decision of not going for it backfired. As the Kansas City Chiefs then they put up 28 unanswered points in the first half, and then put up a couple more touchdowns, and the Kansas City Chiefs were just rolling. Patrick Mahomes was just throwing touchdowns like that. Travis Kelce despite having a banged up leg, had 3 touchdowns. Damian Williams had a couple touchdowns. There was so much. The Kansas City Chiefs were scoring so many touchdowns that the Kansas City, the people that run fireworks at, the Chiefs Stadium ran out of fireworks. It was just ridiculous, and the Chiefs ran away with this game despite being down 24-0. They won this game 51-31, and after that coaching blunder by Bill O'Brien, I'm kind of surprised. That would have been a game, despite his playoff success, getting to the playoffs. That's a kind of game that coaches can get fired over, and that's where he could have been fired over, and I think he probably should have been. And then we move on to the final matchup in the divisional round between the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. This game started off Green Bay in the first half. They, Aaron Rodgers put up some numbers. He got a couple touchdowns. Devontae Adams had a big game, and he caught some big passes. Devontae Adams had 8 catches for 160 yards in this game. And, I think halftime, the score was, I believe it was 21-3. And you're thinking, the Green Bay Packers had a really good first half. That's kind of been unlike them this year. But then the second half started, and that's where the inconsistency of their game started. Russell Wilson was able to get it going. They were able to get some, touchdowns big. The Packers couldn't really move the ball, or get on the board, that much, or as much as that they were doing in the first half. And eventually, this game in the fourth quarter went to 28-3, or it went from a 21-3 deficit. All of a sudden, it was 28-23. And the Seahawks, eventually had the ball late in the fourth quarter. They went 3-and-out after a big drop. There was inside 3 minutes, but they had all their timeouts plus the 2-minute warning. I don't know. I feel like they had a 4th and 12, but they may have wanted to go. They probably should have went for it, but that wasn't the case. I guess the big thing for Green Bay's defense was they were able to sack Russell Wilson 6 times, but still, Green Bay had a very inconsistent game all around, but then the Packers had the ball. They were able to convert a third down and 8. They got to Devontae Adams, who got up to midfield. He did get out of bounds, so the Seahawks were able to keep, still had another chance of getting the ball back. But then I think it was a third and long. Aaron Rodgers throws it to Jimmy Graham. He was able to convert it, although replay showed, and this is where a lot of people, that's another problem people have had with the Packers, is that they've had close calls. It seems like all these close calls have been going their way. It looked from the where the line, where Jimmy Garoppolo, where he was down, it looked like he was short of the first down, and had that happen, it would have been ruled fourth down. So that was a big call, but they reviewed it. They ruled it wasn't conclusive enough with the call that they called on the field, which was a first down. So the Packers got the first down. They were able to kneel, and that pretty much sealed the game for them, as the Packers were able to win 28-23, and probably another very inconsistent game for the Green Bay Packers. What were your thoughts on the divisional round matchups this weekend? Leave in the comments section below. As always, follow me on Twitter @Laser96 and click like if you like the video. So, and a big announcement here, I will have the conference championship games, those predictions coming up later this week. So check that out in a couple days. I also might be doing another video, so stay tuned on my channel. I got a couple videos possibly coming out this week. At least one. You're guaranteed at least one. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all later.